and the 420R Caterhams will be racing for 25 minutes. The track day races will each be of 45 minutes, and the 310R actually, they also get 25 minutes. The Clubmans are happy with 15 for each of their two races, the Clubman sports cars, which will be the fastest races of the day. And the Z-Class production GTIs, they get 20 minutes. Predicting a winner, Chris, before the first race of the weekend, when there's a double header, is pretty difficult, but I suppose the obvious favourite is Anthony Barnes.
Yeah, especially when you look at his time. I mean, he's quite
half a second.
Yeah, which in Caterhams is a country mile, isn't it? They're not usually that far apart.
But then a good qualifying performance is partly due to getting the right slipstream at the right time, isn't it?
Yeah.
And come the race, things may not pan out quite so well. So I'm just wondering. They haven't been to Oulton Park before this year. They have been before in previous years, but not previously this year have they been here. It's a rolling start, remember, so this is the pace lap, at the end of which the pace car will peel off into the pit lane and racing will commence. It sounds as though they're squealing their way past you at the moment.
Yeah, they are, and I was trying to sort of like note down a few of the colours as they went, but it was a bit difficult when they're all together, and also trying to pick out whether Jamie Winrow's there on the fifth row, the number 46 car, because he was one whose drive shaft went in qualifying. He'd managed to do the 3 laps, and but I didn't know whether they'd got it sorted or not.
This is one of these £1,000 drive shafts, is it?
If he chooses to go for the new style this year, correct. He didn't have that new style this year, but I'm not sure. They might be sort of putting a standard one on it.
Right.
The unfortunate thing for him is the other side, the other drive shaft, the other side of the car went at Silverstone on him, and they got that repaired, and now the other side's gone.
Okay, the cars I can see now making their way through Lodge Corner, out of Deer Leap. The pace car peels off into the pit lane, and we are about to go racing with Anthony Barnes on the right hand side of the track, looking towards Old Hall Corner. On the left is Mark Stansfield. It's Anthony Barnes, by virtue of having the inside line, that gets into the lead. Does he just as head of Stansfield as they come out of the corner? Yes, but he's going to be on the wrong position for the left-hander at Cascade, which is coming up. So effectively, they're side by side into your sight then, Chris.
They are, and it's Barnes is going to have the outside line, but he's still holding as they turn left at Cascades, and trying to look up the inside is Stansfield. Not made it work. He's tucked himself in behind, with the whole pack now hunting him down as they disappear along Lakeside, out of our view. So Anthony Barnes just held that on. He just braved it round the outside of Cascades and just managed to power it round the outside. I guess that's the key thing here. You are able to do that in these cars, but you're absolutely right. They came, into my view, out of Denton's, absolutely locked side by side.
Okay, here they come then. I can see them on the TV, making their way through Britain's chicane. And Barnes it is who's trying to open up a gap, but I think it'll be frustration, because inevitably in Caterham racing, slipstreaming comes into play. He comes over the brow of the hill, back into your sight, Chris.
Yeah, they're already into his lops now, and it is Anthony Barnes definitely in the lead. Then it's the green, racing green with the yellow flashes, 19, which means that we know it's Stansfield, just ahead of Gary Smith. They've kind of got a small gap on the chasing pack as they go up Clay Hill. At the moment, that challenge by Stansfield has sort of compromised them a little bit, and Anthony Barnes is trying to gap the rest of the field at the moment.
No, he's not succeeding in doing so. There, as I look at them going through Druids, the gap is coming down, if anything. It's little to choose between them as they head down the straight under the Paul Warwick Bridge into Lodge Corner. And as they emerge from Deer Leap, is Anthony Barnes in front, being pressed strongly by Mark Stansfield over the line. He's right on his tail. He's going to make a move to try and take the lead as they go into Oulton corner. No, he just stays behind. So no change in the order, but certainly right up behind the leaders' rear was Mark Stansfield, with in third place number 20 Gary Smith, and in fourth place for the moment number 23 Justin Armstrong. So it's grid order really.
It is at the moment. It doesn't tell the story. You're absolutely right. Anthony Barnes was under huge pressure as they turned left. Going out of my sight along Lakeside, they've gone side by side, but I think that Anthony Barnes knew that was happening, covered the inside line.
He did, and Anthony Barnes has retained the lead just about. They turned through Shell Oils, and it's the first three, but it's all really temporary, because I can't see how they're going to stay broken away from the rest of the pack. Through Britons, it's still Barnes from Stansfield, from Smith, and as they come out of the chicane over Hilltop, back into your sight, Chris.
Yeah, they come down the hill. It's still Barnes. The Dayglow orange roll cage tells us that it is the number 4 car that has the nod. Stansfield still keeping him honest. And as well as Gary Smith in the grey with the yellow flashes of number 20, he's been closed in by, it's now 4 for the lead. In fact, Gary Smith just dropped the rear wheel wide as he came round the right-hander of Nicky Brook, but the 4 for the lead over Clay Hill.
Okay, so through the left-right of Druids, okay, Anthony Barnes, he looks as though he's made a little break, and then it just doesn't happen for him, because he slips, yes, right up onto his tail again comes Mark Stansfield. So it is still Barnes from Stansfield through Lodge Corner. Leaders come out of Deer Leap and complete the lap side by side nearly, but Anthony Barnes just has the advantage going into Old Hall, starting their third lap. And definitely I go along with you, the first 4 have broken away: Barnes, Stansfield, Smith and Armstrong.
Well, as they came initially into our sight, it was Noah's Ark 2 by 2 for a second, but that suddenly under braking closes back up again, and the proverbial piece of elastic between those 4 stays intact. And it looked like a good exit there from Mark Stansfield. Is he launching a challenge out of my sight?
Yes, he was launching another challenge, and as they come up towards Shell Oils, they're still side by side, but I think, yes, he has prevailed. So Mark Stansfield, you may well see as the leader when he comes into your sight. I think Anthony Barnes may have dropped down to third place. So up to second has come Smith, Gary Smith.
That's incredible. So obviously the insight is that you've got the stream showing over in your box, have you?
You worked that one out?
Yeah. It's not
I've got X-ray eyes that can see distances.
You're right that Barnes is into third, Stansfield up into the lead in the number 19 car, and it is Gary Smith, number 20, sat there in second, Anthony Barnes is coming back, desperate to try and get himself back in the lead as they go up over Clay Hill, and Armstrong's just taking a watching brief in 4th place at the moment.
There's still ages to go. There's just under 20 minutes of racing still remaining, so what they're doing now is trying to work together to break away from the pack, and then they can concentrate on sorting each other out. It's just 3 others. If you're in the leading group, you've got 3 other drivers to contend with. That leading group of 4 cars makes its way out of Druids through Lodge Corner and comes up to complete the 3rd lap. And the order over the line this time is Stansfield, Smith, Barnes and Armstrong. Now the cunning one here is Armstrong, is it not? Because he's just sitting there biding his time, keeping out of trouble. Justin Armstrong in 4th place.
Yeah, it's just a watching brief all coming down. It looks like Gary's having a look up the inside. Gary Smith, number 20, tried to have a sneaky peek as they got down towards Cascades. That didn't work, and it's compromised him on the exit, which means that Anthony Barnes was getting a good run down Lakeside, and he may well be getting himself ready for a challenge down at Shell Oils.
Somebody else has made good progress. He started on row 4, and he's now into 5th place. It's 55 Russ Olivant. He's just moved ahead last time around of number 34, Ian Cowley. Meanwhile, the leading quartet makes its way through Britain's. No change in the order from what it was when you last saw them. Chris, they're back in your sight.
Yep, here they come. It does look like it's still Stansfield, Gary Smith, Anthony Barnes, and then, as you say, Justin Armstrong still just taking that watching brief. It is the 4 of them. But are we going to see a challenge from Russ Ollivant in the blue and green 55 cars? Got himself up into that 5th, and he's now trying to put a gap between himself and the chasing pack.
Yeah, I quite fancy his prospects of joining in. He's 4th in the championship, of course. What we have in the first 4 places are the top 4 in the championship. Or 3 of the top 4 in the championship. Anthony Barnes, Gary Smith, Mark Stansfield, 1, 2, 3 in the championship. Russ Ollivant is 4th. And they're 3 abreast nearly as they head towards Lodge Corner this time. And trying to muscle his way up into 2nd place is Anthony Barnes as they come through to complete the lap. He may or may not quite have succeeded in doing so. They're side by side over the line behind Mark Stansfield. Mark Stansfield it is who leads over the line. Anthony Barnes deemed to be 2nd by nothing at all, really, from Gary Smith. And still Justin Armstrong, number 23, is 4th. Russ Ollivant is 5th. And 6th is 86 Riley.
Well, the 4 come screaming back into our sight down at the bottom of the hill. Into Cascades, the left-hander they go. Every single one of the 2nd, 3rd, 4th place cars were posturing as if they were going to make a lunge. None of them actually did.
I think we're approaching lunchtime. And there may be a change about to happen there as the cars... No, I'm not sure it has. Anthony Barnes may have clawed his way back into 2nd place, but it's all a bit academic at the moment amongst themselves, those 4. But are they being caught, I wonder? You'll perhaps have a view of that when they come over Hilltop, as they will do in a moment. Just making their way the first 4 cars through Britain Chicane, over Hilltop. Are they being caught by Russ Ollivant in 5th place?
Well, let's have a look as they come down. Anthony Barnes is looking towards the outside for the right-hander into Hislops. Not on there, and does that leave him vulnerable? Not necessarily. He's still got a good run through there, and Gary Smith still looking under pressure. Our leader at the moment, Stansfield, trying to get away. If Ollivant is trying to close in, I've got to tell you, he's taking the chasing 4 cars with him.
I think you're right, actually. I don't think it's a solo effort by him. There's going to be more in that 2nd group, but it's not by any means unknown for Caterhams to try a split early on and then all bunch up together again before the end of the race. So they're heading towards Lodge Corner at the moment, the leaders. And it is number 19, Mark Stansfield, who continues to lead. I think he's now led more laps than anybody else, even though Anthony Barnes led to begin with. So as they come through now to complete the 5th lap, it's Stansfield, Smith back ahead of Barnes, Armstrong still 4th, Ollivant 5th, Riley 6th, Cowley 7th, Farmer 8th, 9th is Tootle. Oh, the Tootles are in fact 9th and 10th, 32, the leading Tootle, Lewis.
Well, down we go in towards Cascades, and suddenly it's Gary Smith, the one that's looking racier. The 2nd place car, grey with the yellow roll cage on it, is still going after Stansfield. He's gone towards the right-hand side, towards the lakeside, and therefore he's going to be on the inside for Shell Oils.
He is. Whether that's going to help him, though, I rather doubt. It's a possible way of gaining a place, but it doesn't always work by any means, and it hasn't this time. So it's, Barnes is in 3rd place still, Smith is 2nd, Stansfield still leads as they come through the Britain Chicane over Hilltop and back into your sight, Chris.
Yeah, they're all sort of following each other like a snake now, trying to either continue with the slipstream or shake off the group behind. And talking of which, shaking off the one behind, Ollivant in that 5th place is under huge pressure from the number 86 car that it was hounding him. Steve Riley's got himself back up into that, 6th place, and he's trying to move himself back up into 5th again.
Which is where he started 6th, actually, Steve Riley, yeah. So the cars making their way, and it looks to me now as though we've got a long line, more than just 4 cars in the leading group. Let's just get a better view of them. No, I'll still give them a gap. The first 4 still have a bit of daylight between themselves, and the best of the rest led by Russ Ollivant. Leaders come through to complete lap 6, and it is still Mark Stansfield leading Gary Smith, Anthony Barnes, and number 23 Armstrong, Justin Armstrong, in 4th place. In fact, no changes at all in the order that time.
Yeah,
unusual for a Caterham race.
Yeah, they keep posturing as though they're going to, though, don't they?
Yeah, that's right.
For sure. As they come down towards Cascades again, it looked like they were going to. It now looks to me as though the 5th and 6th place cars of Oulton and Riley have managed to get away from the gap behind them, so they could start working together to chase the front quartet.
You could be right, but I think it might be, a bit flaky, that situation. I think it could change again quite soon. So the car's out of Shell Oils. And I think I'd give you 4 + 2, almost making 6 now.
Really, I thought that might happen.
Yeah, as they come into your sight in a moment.
Yep, here they come over Hilltop. I just still love that sight as they come back into my view over the top of the crest. Past Ian Simpson, good to see that Simo's back here as well. He'll be loving that sight as they come down the hill. And it's Gary Smith that's in the lead now, so it's the number 20 car that's got it, just ahead of Stansfield. Anthony Barnes still watching his Justin Armstrong, and Russ Oulton trying to take his compatriot with him to glue on the back of this.
Right, so into Druids. So for the first time, Gary Smith is he's the 3rd leader we've had of the race. Of course, Anthony Barnes was to begin with, then it was Mark Stansfield. Now it's Gary Smith. As they head towards Lodge Corner, Mark Stansfield outbreaks Gary Smith. No, it was the other way around actually. So I think Gary Smith held on to the lead. So let's just see as they come across the line. In fact, they're trying to be 3 abreast. You can't do that. Stansfield's got the lead back from Smith after 7 laps. So it's Stansfield, Smith, Barnes. The gap between the top 2.093 of a second as they cross the line. Armstrong 4th, Oulton, Riley, Cowley, Farmer, Tootle, and up into 10th place, 46, Ben Winrow.
Yeah, and it looked like they were trying to arrive side by side through Dentons and into Cascades, not quite able to do it. So it's Stansfield back in the lead, as you say. Gary Smith now under pressure from Anthony Barnes. So those two have been scrapping so much that Barnes ready to try and get that lead back again.
Yes, and he might be able to do it this time as they go up to Britain's Chicane. No, first of all, they've got to negotiate Shell Oils, of course. And no, Anthony Barnes hasn't been able to squeeze through there, so he's still 3rd. But look at the line. I mean, it grows by the lap now. When you see them coming into your side over Hilltop, Chris, I think you'll have about 8 cars in the leading line.
Not surprised, it's the problem, isn't it? If they are tripping over each other, they're putting themselves vulnerable to the pack behind. And here they come, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars in a constant line now, because Oulton and Oulton and Riley have now been joined by 34 and 14, Cowley and Farmer as well. So up they go, and at the moment, Stansfield's actually gapped the pack behind him.
But yes, it's working his way now for the moment anyway. Now, can he make that stick? I don't think that, no, the lead he has at the moment is no larger than the lead that Anthony Barnes had on the opening lap or 2. So I don't see that he's going to be able to make that break. He's trying to achieve that, but he's not. As they come into Lodge Corner, Anthony Barnes is still 3rd. Mark Stansfield leads. And Gary Smith is 2nd. Oh, Anthony Barnes is 2nd, I'm sorry. Stansfield, Smith, Barnes. I was right. Stansfield, Smith, Barnes, Armstrong, Oulton, Riley, Cowley, Farmer, Tootle, and Winrow. He's having a bit of a subdued race, Ben Winrow, isn't he?
Jamie Winrow.
Jamie Winrow.
Yeah, well, that was we had a challenge. Anthony Barnes is up into 2nd place, past round the outside of Gary Smith, although Smith's coming back at him on the exit. Yeah, Jamie Winrow is with the new drive shaft in, so it's good to see he's out at all, to be honest.
Right, Anthony Barnes tries to outbrake going into Shell Oils, but doesn't succeed in doing so. So the leader continues to be, can he make the break, Mark Stansfield? Looks as though he might have done this time. There's a line of 7 cars or so behind him as they break, but he gets a bit in 2nd place. That was a bit of a wobble there by Gary Smith going to the braking area for Shell Oils.
Quite dramatic as it came over the hill, because this cement dust or whatever we use these days was being kicked up this time, and I thought there was an issue as they went over the hill, but it wasn't. That's all it was. Stansfield scampering ever further away because Gary Smith and Anthony Barnes were fighting, and it looks to me as though Armstrong is now close enough to possibly start having sneaky snifters up the inside, but I think he's playing the long game, to be honest, at the moment.
Well, I think that gap's opened up a bit because Gary Smith got slightly out of shape at Shell Oils, and obviously Anthony Barnes behind him had to back out of it. not tapping him on the tail. So that's helped for the moment anyway, and perhaps for the race. The advantage go the way of Mark Stansfield. And in second place it is Anthony Barnes as they complete the lap. Yes, Anthony Barnes has got ahead of Gary Smith for second, and Armstrong is still in fourth place, number 23. But the lead, Mark Stansfield lead, 1.65 seconds.
Wow.
Not a lot, but by Caterham standards, that's quite a gap, isn't it?
I would agree, and it's then second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, all line astern behind them, and they have managed to keep a gap behind the chasing pack behind there. Mark Farmer's got himself up ahead of Ian Cowley by the looks of it, but yeah, Stansfield, that possibly has broken the slipstream now, hasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, it was just a slight sort of hesitation under braking last time around at the point we're at now, as they come through Shell Oils and now head into the, it was there, yeah, that point in the centre, the apex of Britain's, and that has helped Mark Stansfield.
He's a country mile ahead now, isn't he? He's out of DRS zone, isn't he? That's the key thing here, surely.
Yes,
but,
quite.
But I have seen it all. We've got a little bit of bodywork unsurprisingly, round the front wheel. Off it comes, so that's gone off onto the grass, no problem there.
Who was that off?
Off of Anthony Barnes' front right, but
okay.
those things go everywhere. It's the business to be in, I think, to be honest, creating those.
Caterham Mudguards.
Yeah, exactly. But he's now got a gap. Gary Smith seems to have dropped further back. I don't know whether he's got a problem.
Yeah, maybe there's a braking problem. That was what began the problem that's enabled Mark Stansfield to open up this gap. So in terms of time, just over 6.5 minutes of racing time remain, and the leaders head Stansfield, Barnes. Armstrong is now third. You say Gary Smith dropping back a little. Olivant fifth. Riley Farmer up to seventh now. Mark Farmer seventh, ahead of Ian Cowley, and then the Tootles. Yep.
So Armstrong ahead of Gary Smith when they're coming into the side, but Gary Smith was suddenly ready to dive up the inside at Cascades. Hasn't worked, but he's now trying to go on the exit. But what we'll also see, that lead that Stansfield had, now that Anthony Barnes is up into second, has evaporated. They're together.
Yes.
You can't rest in these things, can you?
No, not for one moment. No. You can't pause for breath, really. Anyway, the two leaders come out of Shell Oils. Then there's several lengths gap back to the third place car, which is Justin Armstrong ahead of Gary Smith. Leaders out of the chicane. Anthony Barnes looking as though he's ready to have another bid to take the lead.
Here he comes down towards us, and it was actually Stansfield that lost the second on that last lap that's cost him. Down in towards the right-hander at the start of his laps they go. Anthony Barnes is all over the back of him. Third place is, as we say, 23 Armstrong, 20 Gary Smith, still there in fourth, but possibly again losing contact with the back of Armstrong. So I wonder whether something's not quite comfortable. And Olivant still holding off Riley in fifth place as well.
So leaders through Druids. And heading up to... And Anthony Barnes looks on the inside line, and Mark Stansfield going into Lodge Corner. He wasn't quite able to get alongside enough. Mark Stansfield able to take the line through the corner, go through. We've got time for 2 or 3 more laps, so go through. Still Mark Stansfield leads. Anthony Barnes is second. Justin Armstrong is third. Gary Smith fourth. Ross Oliver fifth. And in sixth place continues to be number 86, Steve Riley. Up to seventh has come number 34.
Oh, we got the challenge for the lead. Apologies, Ian, but I suddenly saw them come side by side, but he's backed out of it as he got down towards Cascades. I thought that Anthony Barnes was going to go for it. It's interesting because Stansfield, the last 2 laps, has lost quite a lot of time off of his best. And so whether he's just pacing it ready for this closing section, I don't know. But once he realised that that lead had evaporated, I guess he's just got to concentrate on fighting Barnes now.
Well, as they go through Shell Oils, it was actually through Ireland. Anthony Barnes took the lead. He got alongside on the left-hand side of Stansfield's car. Therefore, he was able to take the high, wide line through Shell Oils, and that's given him the lead. So you'll see a red car, mainly red car, in front as they come over Hilltop.
Yeah, the day-glow orange roll cage gives us away that Anthony Barnes, the championship leader, has got himself back into the lead of this race. Stansfield is still with him, to be fair, not dropping back, is he?
No.
And Armstrong's in a fairly comfortable third place at the moment, not necessarily challenging those, but Gary Smith far enough back to allow him to relax. But we've seen how quickly it can disappear, no matter how much of a margin there is.
We've got a car, it's Gary Tootle, I think, number 64, that has nudged the blocks that make up the Britain chicane, but I don't think the car's damaged. He'll be able to get out of the situation he's in and keep racing, but some way that's 64 Gary Tootle.
And I noticed that Farmer, number 14, has gone plunging down through the order.
Yes, a lap ago that happened.
And Jamie Winrow just went straight across the grass down here.
Right, well now you can tell it's getting towards the end of the race. 2 minutes and 43 seconds remain, so time for 2 more laps. The one they're about to start, and 1 more.
Well, down they come to the left-hander Cascades. Yeah, Gary Smith has definitely lost contact with this leading trio, and Armstrong again is in that sort of watching space, isn't he? I'm kind of nervous if I was the lead drivers, because he's definitely loitering with intent, I would say.
Who is, sorry?
The third place, Justin Armstrong,
yes,
number 23. He keeps doing that, doesn't he? Just watch him for a while, biding his time, ready to know when to launch.
Keeps out of trouble. But Anthony Barnes won several races this year, so he knows how to win these. And he's made his move, he's got the lead, and he's got 1 more lap after this one. And he's coming back into your sight.
Yeah, he is still in the lead. He's now weaving all the way down the hill, trying desperately to shake off the slipstream. So he's not relaxed that he's put the attack from Stansfield to bed just yet. Oh, and he's a little bit wild through his lops that time, and on the power through the right-hander of Knickerbrook, up Clay Hill he goes. He just cannot get rid of Stansfield whatsoever, so he is acutely aware there's a car looming large, and those two have pulled away from Armstrong this time.
Yes, they have, so as they get turned through Druids, Anthony Barnes retains the lead. But Mark Stansfield still very much in touch with him as they go out of Druids, head towards Lodge Corner. Are they possibly being caught by the 3rd and 4th place cars by 23 Justin Armstrong and 20 Gary Smith? Anyway, they're going through now. How much time on the clock? Just under a minute, so this is the start of the last lap. And I would say that the lead that Anthony Barnes has now at 0.764 per second, that's not much, but visually that seems to be quite a margin as they go out of Old Hall back into your sight, Chris.
Yeah, the timing could be perfect for him. He's not left himself vulnerable. He's dropped Stansfield behind. And interesting to see 3rd place isn't sorted, because Gary Smith, number 20, we thought had an issue earlier. He's now glued to the back of the 3rd place Armstrong car.
Yes. Right, the 2 leaders. And in fact, it's much closer for 3rd place, as you suggested, than it is for the lead now, because Anthony Barnes seems to have opened up enough of a margin, but we may be wrong about that. In fact, I think that, yes, Mark Stansfield closes up a bit as they turn into, he's absolutely there, as they turn through the Britain chicane. So back in your sight, you'll find there's 2 pairs in the leading 4 places.
Okay, well here they come down towards us for the final time. It is still Dayglow Orange roll cage that tells us it's Anthony Barnes. The championship leader still has the nod at the moment, but you're right, Stansfield is back there ready. He's just reeled him in. If there's going to be a challenge, it's going to be out of my eyesight, that's for sure, because they're going up Clay Hills glued together. 3rd and 4th are still together as well. Armstrong under pressure from Gary Smith.
Right, we should get them on the screen in a moment to see what they're doing. And it is still Anthony Barnes, but only just. And there could be a late lunge on the inside going into the final corner, into Lodge Corner this time. They're nose to tail as they go under the vehicle bridge and now head towards the final right-hander at Lodge Corner for 3rd place. It's side by side almost as well. Anthony Barnes holds the lead as they go through Lodge Corner, through Deer Leap and up to the checker flag. It's going to be a win for Anthony Barnes, but by not very much at all. And for 3rd place, it is just, but only just, Gary Smith was behind Justin Armstrong. Justin Armstrong took the verdict for 3rd place by 0.086 of a second. So Anthony Barnes, the winner from Mark Stansfield, by 0.453 of a second, and Justin Armstrong took 3rd place by 0.086 of a second from Gary Smith. Ross Ollivant 5th, 6th, number 86, Steve Riley. 7th, number 32, Lewis Tootle. In 8th place, number 34, Ian Cowley. In 9th place, number 173, Matt Spark. And in 10th place, number 61, Jose Magalhaes. Right, I'll go for the podium and we'll have the podium and also give the grid out for the next race.
Yeah, thank
which
you.
I hope you got, Chris. Yep.
Yes, I do. Yeah, no problem. It's on my screen. Don't have the paper ones down here, but certainly we can get through the grid as it stands. So the next race, race number 2 of the weekend, the MSVT Track Day Championship. Remember, we've got the Track Day Trophy and the Track Day Championship. 45-minute race with driver changes if that's the intention, if they've got 2 of them. The grid will line up as follows. On the front row, it's number 3, Steve Summers. Alongside him, number 70, Robertson Heath. Row 2, 89, Adrian Pottinger, and 138, Alan Ball. Third row, 71, John Line, and 112, Stuart Donovan.